NHL Central Division preview brought to you by the NHL Coast to Coast podcast. Welcome back to the NHL previews. This is episode number 3. We're doing the Central Division today. I'm joined again with my main man, Tori. We're just going to rip through 8 of these teams and kind of discuss the changes, what we predict going on, and all that fun stuff. Welcome, Tori.
Exactly. Thank you. How's it going, man? Good.
It's been a good day, yeah. Baseball playoffs started, and we're doing NHL, so we're going to start things off at the bottom, right?
Yeah. Well, let's jump into the Central, and we have a couple similar teams in there, but why don't you take it away with the worst team?
Yeah,
in
worst
the Central.
team in the Central. We both have the Arizona Coyotes finishing last place in this division. A lot going on with them in terms of basically becoming almost, in my opinion, a second expansion team. Taking on a lot of crap from other teams, which can be a strategy when they all clear up at the end. And they got pretty much a brand new looking roster for the most part. A lot of the younger guys staying in the fold. Kessel, of course, staying in that cornerstone of his team now that he loves in Arizona. But a lot of new faces and a lot of change for the Arizona Coyotes. They're heading over to a new division, which is we'll see how that goes over for them.
Maybe it's good. Maybe it'll spark a new rival that they didn't really have in the old division. The old division was kind of close in terms of geography, but now they have a couple more teams that are a little bit more close that might help spark some of that. So we'll see about that. And with you mentioning Phil Kessel, they're talking about it on the radio, and apparently he wants another contract. There's a lot of us, including myself, who thought maybe this would be his last year. But apparently he wants another contract, may or may not be in Arizona. So we'll see. If it's not where he wants to be, then you got to think he's going to be pretty amped up to have some sort of production. Yeah. He's proven he can be a third-line secondary scorer in the playoffs for the Penguins and win a championship. So it'll be interesting to see. I think he'll be a trade deadline piece. And like you said, some of the other pieces that are expiring, they could also be trade deadline pieces. I don't remember off my top of my head. I want to say it's 8 second-round picks of the next 3 years. Coyotes have might be 5, but it's somewhere in that zone, which is still a lot. It's like twice as many.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of change in the next coming years. That's kind of why I said like another expansion team, because they're bringing in a lot of dead crap. Like they took basically all of Vancouver's biggest problems with Roussel, Beagle, Erickson, all these big fourth line contracts that were kind of hurting the Canucks. They came to the Coyotes. They're all expiring this year. So a lot of room being made, a lot of draft picks coming up. New division, new rebirth almost for the Coyotes this year.
It's true, and like I've always hated them for a long time. But like I've always loved their jersey, and the fact that they've changed their logo to the old logo is kind of cool. And like I don't know, not that that's all it takes to kind of get me going the other way, but yeah. It's just like I didn't like what they're doing, and now they're doing it right. It looks like they're trying to clear the deck to do it right. Yep. And by doing so, I'm looking at it right now. They have 3 first-round picks already this year, which is including Colorado for Kemper and Montreal for Dvorak. They have their own second, Islanders second, Flyers second, Sharks second, Canucks second. That's already before the season starts. You got to think the couple more things that they move are going to get more picks. Yep. Everyone's already talking about how they're basically creating a landing spot for Austin Matthews.
Love it.
It's entirely possible.
It very well could be, and you never know. You never know with these things, right? All right. Well, you want to move on to this next team? We both have 2 different teams in the second bottom spot, so we'll switch it up and go with Nashville, your second bottom team. I still have them in the same tier as the Red, not making the playoffs, not really in contention. That's how we distinct that. Do you want to take it away for this one? To start things off.
For sure. So the next 2 teams, we actually agree on the 2 teams slotting for second last and third last in the division. It's just about where they fit. And that for me would be Nashville, and for you have Minnesota. Obviously not to jump ahead too much, but just to compare between the 2 teams really, because that's kind of what we're saying here. I mean, Nashville, I feel like is a team they already traded away Ellis. They got younger already by getting a couple pieces that they got, whatever it was, Philip Myers and I can't remember the other forward that they got. Cody Glass, correct? Thank you. So like it will depend and see, but I mean Forsberg is probably on his way out. Saros, can he be a top 50? I mean, I know this isn't fantasy show or whatever, but top 50 player in fantasy he was last year. Can he replicate that kind of statistics and carry his team on his back, basically, with a weaker defense, a younger team? They traded Arvidsson, who was Forsberg's best friend, and he wasn't very happy about it. So I
Yeah,
think there could be a
that
bit
might
of
be like a
turmoil there.
foreshadow too to like that they're moving on from Forsberg coming up, and like
Yeah,
you're hitting on the nail on the head. It's a Soros coming out party this year. It's can he take the reins from Rene, who they've relied on for a decade,
ever.
to have the back of the net, and it'll be interesting. They're a team to watch for sure. Not a whole lot of expectations, at least from us. The team themselves, they might be amped. They might be ready to go. They could very well surprise if all the right things end up, and that's going to be the case with a lot of the teams we talk about going forward here.
Yeah, and like I think Nashville has potential to be solid, but I don't see where the primary scoring is coming from. They have some good secondary scoring, but like I don't
Yeah,
think they can score with the best of them, nor do I think they can defend with the best of them. I just don't, I think it might be a bit of a long year for them. And when I did compare it to who I wanted to rank above in Minnesota, took a bit of a gamble at the time. I know that we're talking about the tiers now, but I've been kind of looking at this for a little bit.
yeah,
I think we both have, anyways. But Kaprizov was a big determining factor for me. Obviously, if he went unsigned or left back to Russia, that would have impacted them in the standings a lot for me. But the fact that he's back, they've retained Eriksson Ek and a couple other guys. I know that they've lost Parise, which was in and out of the lineup. I know that they lost Suter, who was just a reliable, dependable
yeah.
player back there, who was just overpaid. I think that you're going to see Dumba take a bigger role. I think you're going to see some of the youth take a bigger role. They've got some kids coming back, including Marco Rossi,
Yeah,
who is one
he
of the
looks
top.
like he's gonna have a big role on the team too. Second
Yeah,
line center potentially.
exactly. And that could take away from Eriksson Ek because Eriksson Ek is known to be a bit more defensive. So I mean, if he slides back to the second role, if he moves up in if Rossi becomes the first line center, then he could be potentially playing with Fiala and Kaprizov, which is a pretty solid
Yeah, I'm not in love
trio.
with it
But
personally. Like I don't, I like they're a solid trio. Don't get me wrong, but like when you compare them up against other teams' top trios around the league, I feel like it falls quite a bit short. They didn't make a whole lot of changes. Like you list off some of the
Mhm.
changes leaving the team, but like they didn't have a huge impact on a team on a given basis. And really, to me, they're bringing back a lot of the same team. We do see Rossi, who didn't play last year, so that could be a part of it too. It's the goaltender situation for me. I'm not sold yet either on that back end. Can Talbot hold the front?
Kakinen.
Yeah, it's Kakinen too, but they're right now it looks like they're going to be riding Talbot as the starter, and if he falters, then Kakinen he'll have to step up.
Let me ask you this. This is how I kind of came to the conclusion or went about it. If I know this isn't how it works, but if Minnesota and Nashville played each other in a 7-game series, best of 7-game series, how does that series turn out? Assuming everyone's healthy and everyone is producing to the level you expect them to.
Right now, I think it's like game seven. Like these games are 3-2, 2-1 games, and Nashville wins. So that's why I have them higher.
That's fair.
But they're like
I
they're
think
neck and neck.
I agree. Yeah, they're slightly different build. Minnesota's a bit more offensive. Nashville's a bit more defensive. They're both young. They're both having some important young pieces step in big roles, which we all know can either go well for a whole season, go well for a chunk of season, or just fall flat on their faces for a while.
Yeah.
Look at Nolan Patrick. Look at Casey Middlestat. I could name a bunch of guys like that. So we'll see. I don't think either of them will really be around the playoffs that much. They'll be kind of maybe lurking a little bit in the background. Um,
You do.
I have
You had
you
Minnesota as
have
orange. Yeah.
I do, but that's because I'm not also that high on St. Louis and LA, so I don't see that there's a big spread between them. However, I start to see the
Yeah.
spread after them. So I think it would be probably more fair if I had put Nashville orange here than if I had put both red.
That makes sense. I can agree with that. All right. Next up, we have the St. Louis Blues. We start to kind of shuffle a little bit away from each other here in terms of our next rankings. I'm just going to start with St. Louis because you have them missing the playoffs. I have them making that fourth playoff spot. So I guess I'll take the lead on this. And to me, it's just some of the depth that they have. I think the two lines they have are stronger than Minnesota's and Nashville's one line, so they have two lines in that category. So I think that puts them above that. I do like the addition they made of, I'm gonna pronounce this wrong, Buchnevich from the New York Rangers. Yeah, Buchnevich from the New York Rangers. I always found him a nice sleeper winger on that team. Always would put up a couple games throughout the year with hat trick. Maybe 2-goal games were not uncommon for this guy. Bringing him in with Tarasenko coming back, I know there could be a question mark there with how he's going to recover from the shoulder surgery, but overall they're more healthy than last year. They have quite strong depth on defense. I know we're going to let you take it away with maybe some of the rumors that are going around with how they're going to adjust, but yeah.
I mean, with St. Louis specifically, they are set up really nice right now to make some different decisions. If they don't exactly like the composure or the build structure of their team now, they can make some changes. I know the hot talk right now is that both Tkachuks are going to eventually end up in St. Louis because Keith is there in some sort of advisory role. I forget exactly what he does. But the depth on defense that you alluded to, I don't necessarily agree with that statement just because they lost Vince Dunn in expansion.
That's fair,
to Seattle. And they had Parayko, they have Krug, behind that they have Bortuzzo, and they had a really good season from what's his name, used to play in
Falk.
Carolina, Falk.
Yep.
But then behind that, I don't really know what's going to do a whole lot. I mean, there's some young guys stepping in, and we'll see. But they've got a ton of young, good power forward type prospect guys, and they've got a ton of good forwards right now. It's almost like they've got too much of a good thing. I wouldn't be surprised to see them make some trades in the next calendar year. But I'm not a big Binnington believer.
Yeah.
I know a couple of years ago people were talking about how he was going to be the goalie for Team Canada. Now I don't think he's even on the radar to be named for the team. I don't think he's. I know he got a big contract, but I don't think he's anything more than a guy.
He's a weird situation because he had basically a really good year in playoff, and then he had one more year since then. It's been COVID really since then, right? And he hasn't performed super well, or even well, if you want to say it like that. They don't really have a confident backup either with Husso. Not a lot of practice, not a lot of game time in the NHL level, so we're not really sure what we could get there. I think they believe that he's the future goalie, but I don't know.
Some of the rumors between Ottawa and St. Louis would be Parayko and Shen going back, but I almost wonder if that is true, if they would also include Matt Murray from the Senators, because he doesn't seem to have. He only had signed that, I believe, a 2-year extension. He didn't have a great year last year. Sens aren't as good as maybe they had hoped they were. So, I mean, if you looked at St. Louis and you had Matt Murray and Jordan Binnington, that's a solid tandem compared to Ville Husso. Yeah. And you could even move Husso back in the deal and give another young goalie to Ottawa. So, I mean, there's some potential there. We'll see. Me, as a Brady Tkachuk owner in fantasy, I'm eager to see what ends up there, but that will be a different story for a different day.
Sounds good. All right, so that puts 4 teams in the books. We got 4 more to go. We're going to move on to the Chicago Blackhawks as your bubble team into the playoffs, and my second team. I'm a little high on Chicago.
Yeah, you're drinking the Kool-Aid from the Chicago Blackhawks, which is fair. I mean, they've got a lot of stuff going for them, and they kind of are the hipsterish pick, I think, this year to go for the cup, which is fine. Again, I'm also a Blackhawks fan, so or I have a Blackhawks bias, whatever. So, like, I do think they're going to be good, and the only reason I didn't put them at the top is just because I want to see it all gel first.
Yeah.
I want to see Taves be able to complete the season. Like, for all we know, Taves plays 10 games and his condition comes back and he's done. He retires. For all we know, we never hear about it.
That is a risk that probably I didn't account for very much.
I mean, you don't know, right? But then again, DeBrinket's been great. They have Kubalik and all these other good forwards. Patty Kane's always doing well there. I don't see why they're not going to succeed. I just kind of want to see it first. / I'm a little bit hotter on some other teams.
Yeah.
Ahead of them, so I just figured they're in this. These 4 teams I feel like are interchangeable, and by the end of the day, we'll be within probably 7 points of each other. So we're kind of splitting hairs a little bit, but yeah.
For me, I just want to see Flower. What's he gonna do if he can play at the level he did last year? the Chicago Blackhawks are going to be right up there with Colorado. But if he just falters and he goes back to maybe 2 years ago Fleury that would let in some weak, soft ones a lot, then I don't know. I still think they're a playoff team. So
Didn't Lankinen win Rookie of the Year or nominated Rookie of the Year? I forget.
I don't know who won Rookie of the Year. I can't remember.
Okay. I think he was nominated,
he
but
would
I
have
don't
been
think he won.
nominated. I assume, yeah.
Yeah, so they have a Rookie of the Year nomination as their backup goalie.
Kaprizov won.
Oh, right, Kaprizov won. Yeah, good call. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, they still have a good tandem. Even Fleury falters. I think you have full right to put them at the top, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But my question to you is why?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Why do you have them over the Jets? What made you sour on the Jets a bit?
For the Jets, I was just looking at them. They don't seem super. They don't blow me away. I lost a lot of confidence in the way the playoffs went for them last year, getting swept by the Habs. That was pretty rough. And honestly, they're not really. I guess they didn't have Scheifele, so I guess that hurts a lot in that playoff series.
They didn't have Scheifele and they didn't have Dubois. Didn't have their top two centers.
Dubois was gone the whole series.
He got suspended 3 games. He missed. I think he played game 1 and then missed game 2, 3, and 4. Or he might have been. It might have been a 2-game suspension and missed game 2 and 3 or 3 and 4.
Okay,
he got suspended.
That part
or
is completely. That fact was completely out of my brain. But I don't know. I just looking. I was kind of like matching up rosters. Again, like between. I do have them in the contender category. It's to me they very much could get in. I just didn't feel it. Like they're going to rely heavily on Hellebuck to have a Vezina level year. They're going to rely heavily on this defense to not be Swiss cheese.
I think that they addressed their issues. I think that they improved their defense. They got Nate Schmidt and they got Brendan Dillon. Well, Schmidt isn't the same type of defenseman, dude, but he's big and mobile, and Dillon is big and mean. So they got a guy who can move the puck on 5-on-5, and they got a guy who can penalty kill, which were kind of 2 of their big weaknesses, and 2 of the big things that they were relying on Hellebuck to cover up. So they've now kind of filled those holes. They always had what I considered to be, we'll call them elite checking forwards in the bottom 6. Like they have guys like Lowry and Kopp and whatnot. They've always had those guys. They've always had good penalty kill. They've always had good 5-on-5 numbers, but they've always been bad at giving up bad goals, and Hellebuck has a bad game here and there. I'm really hot on Winnipeg. I think Winnipeg is. That's why I wanted to ask you, because again, all 4 are probably going to be within 7 points,
sleeping.
But
could be sleeping.
I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Jets.
It's a fair assessment. I can't argue with that.
I guess we'll get to the next team that we have in this group of 4, and that is the Dallas Stars. I want you to take away that one.
Oh man, lead me off with the Dallas Stars, why don't you, huh? So I don't know. I was pretty hot on them. They're moving on. They're getting their full team back. They're deep across the board. They bring in some guys that add to that depth. Ryan Suter on the back end, Raphael Glendenberg. These guys, NHL caliber players coming into the deep end. They're already fairly, in my mind, a fairly deep team to begin with, and they just add a little bit, even that little tweak 4th, 5th. Big question mark for me is in the back end of the net. You had been telling me that Bishop is scheduled to make a return, but that doesn't add any confidence to me if he's in the net coming back from this.
We'll believe it when we see it, right?
Yeah, so that's kind of what has me edging them out over the other 2 teams is the net. But they do have the team in front of the goalies to be able to make that goalie look good. So I don't know. That's kind of my assessment. I don't have a whole lot of view on the Stars as a whole. But they're a strong team, and Sagan's back. That's a big deal. Yeah.
They've got a lot of guys back this year that are healthy and going to be healthy. And I think that we're going to see the Stars of 2 years ago, where we saw them go to that whatever final it was against. Was it against the Cup against the
Lightning?
Lightning? Yeah. Okay. So I think we're going to see a team closer to that than what we saw last year. I think last year there was a lot of fatigue. I think last year there was a lot of other concerns and people playing in positions that they shouldn't be. And then those people got hurt, which had other people stepping up almost 2 rungs. And guys like Robertson and guys like, what's the centerman, Rupe Hintz, did step up. but now they're going to be put in different roles. So I think that, yes, at the start, Dallas could be a little bit of a cluster, just because everybody's in different roles than they're used to for the last year and a half. But once it gels, once they figure it out, once they have three deep lines of scoring, however it's gonna shake out. You mentioned their back end; they already were strong on the back end with Klingberg and Heiskanen. They signed Hakanpää, they signed Suter. They already have some other guys there. Yes, their goaltending, their crease is a mess. But the way I look at it is Jake Ottinger is a waiver eligible guy. You can send him up and down. So I would send him down just to increase your security net. You're looking at Bishop, which I would not pull him off the IR until he skated, 6 practices in a row without being sore, without being restricted,
ready to go,
ready to go,
90%, 95, yeah.
I want you ready to be backup that you can come in and play before you're actually playing. No, I don't want you cold. That's not necessarily what I'm saying. But
he'll be getting the lower end of the starts for the first while.
Yeah, so then you break it down and you have Holtby and Khudobin. I'm not a big Khudobin fan, and debate what you want between the two of them. I think Khudobin is a little bit overrated myself. I think Holtby is a little bit underrated, at least in terms of his puck playing ability. Dallas used to be so good back in the day. Remember Marty Turco?
Oh, yeah.
Marty Turco used to be elite in terms of moving puck, and it made them an elite team. You could even look at Brodeur in New Jersey, but we're using Dallas for this. Then they signed Bishop, because they had who was it that they had in net before Bishop? I can't remember at this current moment. But Smith.
Yeah, they were kind of floating around like Lankinen. They're floating through goalies.
They had all kinds of weird stuff, but they had Mike Smith, who also was good at playing the puck. They have Ben Bishop, who's good at playing the puck. And then they went into Khudobin, who is not good at playing the puck. And I think that might be part of why I feel like he's overrated, because to me, being able to handle the puck is a skill of goaltending, where some other people think you don't need to leave that to your defenseman. But the ability to have that skill is a bonus, and it changes the game
extra
tremendously.
Yeah,
it does. So if I have the choice between a slightly less capable goalie but that he can handle the puck, I'll take that guy all day, because I want him to be able to make the play when I need him to. When there's a puck battle, when there's a race for the puck, or when he needs to make that play because somebody's caught out of position, I don't need him getting caught halfway between and giving my team up a wide open net with 4 minutes to go or something because he made a stupid decision. So I think that might be part of it, but I do think that you break it down that way, there's 4 options. One of them's got to hit. Ottinger was good last year. If the other 3 hit and don't work out, well, then pull up Ottinger, run him a little early, probably for him for when he's ready. But he proved it last year. Run with it and go. He can also play the puck. That's your
Dallas
fourth option.
they're just in a much better spot than last year. Last year kind of started unfortunate. They were the first team with a COVID outbreak. They started late in the season. They started with a poor record, and just it was pretty much bad, just a write-off of a season with a short season for them. So coming in, like I said, I do agree with you that they're going to be much like the team from 2 years ago, which has me we're interchangeable, second, third, kind of the same at this point.
I mean, we do agree that all the teams. Oh, I guess we don't. We see 4 teams coming in. I could see 5 of the teams from this division making the playoffs as well.
Too.
I think the battle will be between St. Louis and Calgary. But when things shake down, yes, I have many in LA Kings in that thing, just because you can't only have one team really competing for a playoff spot. I know you can, but fun to predict that. So I just kind of pick the next closest teams.
When you watch the West and you see that we have teams in orange, basically there's one orange in each side and one green in each side. All those teams, the 4 are fighting for 2 spots in both our eyes, right? So
exactly, yeah. So we'll see what comes down to. But then when we get to the top of the division, I don't think we really need to say a lot of this. This is Colorado.
Yep.
The only thing that could go wrong here is goaltending. You know me, I've brought this up a million times. Goalies on a new team in the first year are always susceptible to bad bounces, bad goals, misunderstandings, misreads, stuff like that, which lead to bad goals. And if those bad goals are bad timing, then it could be killer for you. But by the end of the season, it should figure out. Frank Hughes is hurt right now. So they're back down to their Marcus Johansson and Hunter Mishka as their backup options. So, again, they're running thin on goalie.
And, Kemper is not the most stable guy. He's missed time both the past 2 years. So it's definitely a question mark. They're coming into the season with Achilles tendon exposed, at least for sure.
That's the thing. That's going to be the last couple of years. I know I've said this to you multiple times. Like, when is Sakic just going to bite the bullet and pay for the goalie? Because, like, I didn't think that Grubauer was an injury risk a lot of the time too, right? Like, pay for the guy, the security blanket. Your team is good enough to compete in all other aspects. Even if you go into the playoffs with 2 1A goalies, spend the money, have the security blanket there, or go out and get a guy. I thought they should have always gone out and got Price.
Kind of done what Vegas tried to do, though. It didn't necessarily work out for them. That
was because they tried to do it long term, and they brought in Leonard, and then they gave him a 5-year deal, and then they let Fleury take the net from him. That was their mistake. It's only
that's a whole they played that so weird.
The point is, there's always good goalies who are on expiring deals or have 1 year left max that you can pay for, and I think that Colorado has already let 1 or 2 opportunities slip away from them because they haven't done it.
Yep.
And if they do it again, I just think it's unacceptable. So it's this is the year that Kemper has to do it, or they've got to bite the bullet, bring in another guy. I don't know the name.
It seems like
but they got to do it.
We're going into our 3rd year doing this, and we're saying the same question mark around Colorado. So it's definitely concern there for sure. Other than that, they didn't make a lot of changes. Lost a little bit of depth on defense, but they also have the young guys coming up as well who they want more minutes to come. So they lose Graves, who is a big part of it, but they have the guys to fill it. So I don't think they're going to miss too much. Other than that, it's just really the goalie thing.
Yeah, I think that they'll just kind of carry on business as usual. I could see a situation where they split up their big dynamic trio that they do play a lot together in Landeskog, McKinnon, and Rantanen. I could see them splitting them up on 3 separate lines and just being like, look, this is just how we're going to do it. But on the power play, that's where you guys get to play together. And that actually usually leads to a good power play too, because they want to score together, because it's not like, we're going back out next shift. Yeah, exactly. They're not going back out together next shift. So now
it'll be fun. I think we both think they're clear favorites at this point. If you had to pick, you would say Dallas, I guess, has the best chance of dethroning them.
Probably, yeah.
All right. And I'll agree with my second pick is Chicago. Best chance to dethrone them. All right, I guess that pretty much breaks down the Central Division. We're gonna do the 4th video next, and so let us know if you make it this far. Who do you guys got? Who's right? Who's right? Me or him? All right, peace out, guys.